Welcome back to another great episode of Comedians in Bed. And as always, I like to give an introduction to our next guest. Now, this guy is incredible, man. And I'm not even just saying random thoughts. I'm saying this because I witnessed it with my own eyes on his Instagram. All the jokes that he was landing, all the jokes, the timing, all of it. This guy is a master of comedy, man. This guy is nothing short of hilarious, and he has a beautiful wife by his side too. Let's give it up for a great comedian out of California. Let's give it up for Chris Beasley, everybody. Chris Beasley. What's going on with you, man? How you feeling?
What's good? What's good, man? Feeling good. Just recently out of bed, so I'm rocking with it.
You coming off a birthday celebration. Thanks for being here with us today. How old you turn?
33, man.
33. How does it feel to be 33?
Man, your knees start moving different. You don't even know. Getting out of bed was rough, but we doing all right.
The hangovers be like a whole body hangover at that age.
Yeah, you have to really decide what you're gonna drink the night before. Be like, okay, how is this one gonna hit tomorrow?
That's what's up, man. That's what's up. So how long have you been doing this whole comedy thing?
Yeah, that's a good ass question. I'll add improv into it because that's a good foundational place to start. So it's been about 6 years now. I did improv for 2.5 years and didn't think I was going to do stand up, but then once I got on that stage, man, I fell in love with it. So it's been about 3 years of stand up straight, and I can't look back, man. It's been rocking well.
What made you get into improv?
So it's actually a crazy story. You know, not giving up the athlete. I was hooping rec leagues, things like that, and I tore my Achilles in a game. And after doing that, I ended up getting surgery. From surgery, turned out I ended up with blood clots, and so the blood clots ended up in my lungs, and I ended up in the hospital for a minute. Now I only know I had blood clots looking back. What I had to go on was WebMD, and I'm looking at WebMD and everything's saying I'm dying. Like I swear up and down, my life is over. And I came to the conclusion I had blood clots, but I went to the doctor telling them, "Hey, look, I went on WebMD. It says I got blood clots. I need y'all to check me in immediately." And they were just like, "Go sit your ass down. Like you ain't got nothing." Turns out I had blood clots. I
Right.
had two pulmonary embolisms in my lung, and it sidelined me. They switched up their attitude completely, had me in the hospital for a week,
Mm.
and sitting in the hospital on blood thinners. I was just like, "Yo, if this could be it, like, what do I want to do?" And stand up and comedy was it. And so I enrolled in improv. That like let's see, I think I was on crutches in my first class of improv, just like right out of the hospital, just jumped
Mm.
on it.
And why comedy? Why just making people laugh? Like why was that your first thing that came to your mind on like almost your deathbed?
Yeah, that's what's crazy. It was just clear. I couldn't tell you where it came from. My mom swears that she found something when I was a kid that said I wanted to be a comedian, but by that time in my life, I think I was 28 or something like that. I had no idea, like comedy wasn't on my mind or at the forefront, but it just came through clear while I was in that bed. And I mean, you cut up when you were a kid, but I couldn't tell you honestly. It didn't make any sense to me. I just had to do it.
So when you went to improv class for the first time, how did it feel to be in that space? Did it feel like right at home?
That's so it didn't feel right at home because in improv, man, you have like I like to be prepared. I like to know what's happening. And in improv, you just have to trust the people on stage with you. And that's a hard thing to give up and just like go with the flow and yes and a complete stranger. So the first few classes were humbling because I had to really like set my ego aside and just rock with whatever was given to me. And that takes some real balls, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Now you mentioned one of my favorite games of improv. I took an improv class too, the yes and game. Like how has that like practice or whatever skill set help you on stage with your comedy?
That's number one. That's the most important rule in all of like improvised comedy, just especially if you dealing with a heckler or something like that. So much of it, you just have to accept what comes and play on top of that. And anytime you fight back, it typically stops being funny. I remember the first heckler I had when I moved to California. This was like right early 2021. The world's like just opening up, and this is my first time doing comedy in Cali because I'm originally from Texas. So, culture's different, people different. I had this heckler yelling at me, and I could not yes and, bro. I just got yes angry. Like I just was like, nah, we ain't doing this, bro. And the comedy went left. There was no more humor. Everyone's uncomfortable. Like, yo, what's happening? But you have to yes and.
Yeah. I recently got upset at a heckler, like, but I think because I knew he do comedy kind of sort of like,
Mm-hmm.
so it was like, come on, like, we know you're not supposed to be like doing this or whatever. So how, like, okay, so you dealt with the heckler. How do you deal with hecklers? Do you just go to your improv like skill set, or do you do something else to deal with hecklers now?
Yeah, so it's completely changed to where now, one, I kind of repeat what they say so everyone can hear it and it be clear so I don't look like I'm going off the rails. And then I just accept what they said as facts, as truth, and just like, okay, if this is the case, what world do we live in now? If they calling me out for something, what world is that? Typically, what people heckle with me about is what I'm talking about is uncomfortable. I talk about race and culture most of the time.
Mhm.
And so I'm just like, yes, and like it is uncomfortable. It's the world. You ain't remember my mama. You
Right,
don't know what she don't like,
right.
and just sticking in that and making it personal, family things that people can't really argue,
Mhm.
and then just rocking with it because the biggest difference is if I fight back with what they're saying, they're also not a part of the show anymore. They're a combatant, and
Mhm.
nowadays, bro, every audience member want to be in the show. That's
Right.
that's facts now. So you just gotta let them in a little bit, but not give them control.
Now you say you talk about race and culture a lot. Does that make you nervous going up there, seeing that so many people are so quote unquote getting canceled for talking about things that we typically don't talk about in America? Or as a comedian, do you just say, F it, just go balls to the walls up there?
Yeah, there's a comic I really respect, Andrew Jeselnik. He's just crafty with it, and he responded to the cancel culture as elevating what's required. It's like the bar is set higher now, and if
Mhm.
I'm a competitive comedian, I don't want the bar to be low. So I respect the challenge. And to me, I've always been this guy that looks at race and culture like, I mean, if you're black and you grow up in hella white spaces, you have to navigate and carry yourself at a higher bar your whole life. So this is just normal to me, but for a lot of people, it is uncomfortable. And so I just have to let them know this has been my whole life. Like this is new for you to be caring about this shit. But for
Right.
me, this has been my whole life. So just sit down, relax, enjoy the show.
So, like, how do these jokes go? Because you are in an interracial relationship. So I've never talked to a comedian who is. So how do those jokes go when you write it down and you be like, oh babe, this is good. Like, do you like do you be nervous? Do you hesitate to share them with her? Like
So she typically finds out about the jokes when she comes to a show. That's which I did get in trouble for that. But there's no real other way about it because she might challenge me on it, and I gotta be like, baby, just trust me.
yeah.
If they don't laugh, I'm never gonna say it again. You good? It got to be funny first off. So, but I've gotten ripped, bro. I did one of it's been a closer before, but it's just a joke about us intimate, and she brought people to this show. That's what
uh,
made it awkward. She's sitting there with her friends as I'm like putting our business out there.
yeah.
So I got to run some of it by her before.
Yeah, that's some jokes I think about, like with my girl, we talk about stuff. Sometimes I mean I'll write it first and then I'll be like, so what do you think? Like, is it okay for me to say this? And then she say, yeah, then I'll go ahead and do it. But one thing I like about my girl, she's not the type to always be like, you better not be making no jokes about me. Cause usually the people that say that, we don't make jokes about them. Like it's
Yeah.
crazy. Like, yeah.
No, that's true. My wife is she is funny as a character because I mean, one, it's interracial, and so like a lot of the jokes are the things that we run into and deal with as an interracial couple. And I like to make it not about race, so you don't really see it coming. And then it's like, oh, but this is how race changes how all this looks. And
Mhm.
I think that allows more people to enjoy it. And my wife isn't necessarily the butt of the joke. It's more like the cultural ramifications of us being technically different.
Yeah. How does your wife support you in your comedic journey?
I am blessed, bro. I am so blessed. My wife is my rock. She's taking care of me. So, we actually took a big chance here 2022 to have me go full time with it. And that was a financial switch up from what we've been, financially making. So, and we in California, bro. So it's this it was a sacrifice that we had to make, but she is my ride or die, and she's been there for me the whole time. And so we kind of made that decision together. We both think that my career is moving at a rapid pace than we expected. So it's also helpful that there's some successes, right?
Yeah.
Because she will check me if she's like, nah, you gotta get back in there, get to work.
So when did you know like it was time to come off your job? Because that's like almost every comic's dream to do it full time. You 6 years in, like how did you know it was time to make that change?
I built a foundational uh just so first I had the goal of getting booked consistently to where it made sense. And then once I figured out how to build that network connections and I realized, oh, I can be booked 4 to 5 times a week, then I got to make that move. Like technically, if I was making crazy buku money, then maybe I wouldn't do it. But I looked at it, I was like, I can get about 55% of my income back. And that's I mean, still I'm losing 45%, right? That's a hit. But with that and producing shows, the math checked out, but I also made sure it would before taking the leap.
So okay, you talked about networking and building those relations, and you looked at it and was like, all right, it seems like a good move. Take us through those steps. Like, how did you get to, you said two parts, networking and getting booked consistently. So let's start with the getting booked consistently. How did you build that up? Because I think one thing I'll just stay with me. Like one thing that I kind of struggle with was like, dang, I'm funny, but I'm not getting booked. But
Mm.
sometimes it's not always about being funny. So like, how did you get to getting booked consistently?
100%. And that's the biggest challenge we all run into. So the first thing I think is getting our type five, right? Once I felt like I had a type five, then I had something to get my foot in some of the doors. Now, the quality of your type five tells you which doors you can get into. And I was pretty aware of like, okay, I can get in these doors. There's some doors I ain't even gonna knock on. But for with what I have, I'm gonna get in these doors. So then I got wild with it, man. I spent hours on Instagram looking up everyone's shows, every producer, every independent producer, who runs this show, when is this show, how often is this show. So then I had this show's on Wednesday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday. Like I knew every date for every local show. And then I spent a month and a half getting my next month together. So it's like, all right, I'm emailing all these people, sending my 5 minutes to all these bookers, being like, hey, can I get this date? Can I get this date? And after doing that, I had 2 months booked out. And it was like, bet, all right, that's what I need. And there were some people that said, nah, I'm not rocking with you. Hopefully I'll get booked on those in 6 months, but for the ones that I could with the 5 minutes I had, I definitely knocked those doors down.
So when you emailed them, like were you doing the same 5 minutes when you got to the club?
Ooh, nah. So my club 5 minutes ended up being way better by
Mhm.
this time. So the original five, man, and sometimes you look back and you're like, ugh, who booked this dude? Like, what was y'all thinking? That original five, you also just have to trust, like, I mean, at the time I thought it was killer, so that's another thing. So
Yeah.
I thought it was a really good five, but it wouldn't have got me in any of the clubs at the time. And that just came though from once you go full time or once you put in the I'm working every day at this thing, you do level up so quickly. And so then the five I got the best 5 I have right now was also from someone telling me, like, just put your closer at the beginning and write better from there on. And that was scary, to put my best joke at the beginning and then just like hope I get better. That just sounds ludicrous, but it 100% worked, because you feel when your jokes ain't landing like they did 5 seconds ago. So
Yeah.
it pushes you, and that's how I got a better 5.
Okay. So then, what city was this in? Because everybody doesn't have like, like a big comedy scene.
Scene.
Some might just have like one or 2 shows or just one club. So what scene were you in?
That's a good question. So San Francisco, it's a busy scene, and
Yeah.
that was one of the big switches from originally from Dallas scene, where there's a lot less opportunity. And with that, going full time is way harder, right? So being in the San Francisco scene has made it easier to grind and get more stage time and go full time. And I produce shows out here, which people consume comedy like crazy. So it's been good producing shows as well.
So when what was that switch like when you went from Dallas to San Francisco? Did it require like a different version of Chris?
100%, bro. That again, the reason why I had that heckler, my cadence, my comedy did not work. It was too abrasive. In Texas, you can pretty much say whatever. Like, ain't nobody coming to the stage. I might be packing heat. Like, it's not, ain't nobody just gonna do anything crazy. But in Cali, you got to be so cognizant of everybody's feelings. And you still it's comedy, right? So I got to cross the line, but I was going too far, apparently. And that was pissing people off. So that was different. And then I don't know if you've moved before, but moving just changes how you have to carry yourself, because one, you're not tied down. I don't have homies to chill with, right? So it's like, all right, ain't no homies here, ain't nothing that I'm used to. I have no other choice but to grind, and that was super helpful for Chris being a different level of Chris.
You were talking about not having any homies down there, and then you mentioned before networking. So how moving to a different city, because there are some comments that be like, hey, I'm not getting what I need out of my city, or I reached my cap, so I'm moving. How do you build those networks and make them like genuine? But like, how do you build those networks so that you can get to ultimately where you want to get to?
Yeah. I hate to say it, but the first thing is be funny, man. Because if you got that, it makes the door so much easier to slide into, because they don't know who you are. So your first impression for them is funny. Like back home, their first impression is, Chris, he getting good. He better than he was because he was garbage.
Right.
But here in San Francisco, they just know me as funny. That's what they saw, and so you show up, you be funny, and then they're like, oh, who is this? Yo, what's up? And then you just be a chill hang, grab a drink. That's the hardest part with being married, is like there's a lot of late nights where you ain't even getting stage time, you're not getting anything, you're not getting money, you just chilling to build that relationship for hopefully 3-4 months down the road, and it don't make no sense to your wife. You just gotta be like, yeah, I'm chilling.
What are you doing? I'm just hanging out, just relaxing.
That's it. Who you with? Some random. They all 22. They don't know. You good, baby? You good?
Did you make any new friends? No,
Yeah.
I didn't make any. I didn't get that last night.
That's it. Over and over and over.
So, what made you like say, all right, San Francisco is it? Because San Francisco is known for being a comedy city, and I don't know if Dallas is now, but obviously when you were there, it wasn't. So, like, what gave you the balls to be like, this is where it's going to happen at?
Yeah. I wish. Dang. This is the part of the interview where people just be like, "Yo, that's not fair." Like, I just got lucky, bro. So my wife works for Apple, and they pull her from Dallas, and we moved. Like, I wish I could say I was, gangster with it. Like, nah, I'm moving. I was like, why are we moving? This is my home. Hold on, we let's not switch it up. Things are working. I'm learning, but it just happened, and I just got lucky because San Francisco is such a good comedy scene, and it just happens to be that my wife got pulled out here for work.
Who's her relatives?
Yeah, right. She's the only child. She ain't got no connects, man. I feel you though.
But what was that like? I mean, like you guys are married, you guys are settled in Dallas, and you think you're going to be spending your life like there, and then it's like, no, you got to make the adjustments and the change for her career now is, is vice versa now for you. So how is that like? You guys'
That's
relationship?
that. What I love about comedy is it does not matter what your situation is. It's usable, right? I hated the fact that we moved. I hated the fact that I had to go to Cali. So my comedy is consistently complaining about this place. And what makes it funny is I typically complain about all the good things. It's like, man, these white people too nice. Like, y'all, what's wrong with y'all? And just taking everything that's everyone loves about Cali and coming up with how it's a bad thing. But it started from me really not wanting to be here. And that's the beauty of our art form. It's like, how do you feel about something? Yeah, just go in on that. That's personal. That's unique. Like, stick with that.
Yeah, yeah. So when you were unpacking, were you just like slamming down the plates and stuff?
Nah, because I still had my wife there. It was the pandemic, so like she was there the whole time. So I had to act like I was putting them in the right place. Yeah, but I was frustrated though.
So now, I mean, obviously you've been doing big things down there because now you are the host at the Improv down in San Jose. So how did you get that opportunity, and how has that opportunity been like beneficial for you in your career?
Whew, that's fire, man. So not all clubs have a streamlined way to get work there. And that's the hardest part about our industry. Every location has a different way to get past, and it's frustrating because some of them take years, and that's just how it goes, depending on the prestige and how many people are in line. But the pandemic was helpful. It restructured everything, so everyone's kind of starting off fresh. And the Improv had an open mic that you just keep coming to, and you do well at the open mic. It's a real audience in a real theater, like, which is fire. And then I did well at a few of those. They invite us to do a showcase. I crushed it at the showcase, and then the booker's like, "You ready?" So it was one of the most clear processes to get a job in comedy, which is also rare. And so there's a few clubs right now that I work them, but it's I don't know when it's gonna pay off. I don't know how it's gonna look, and that's just the nature of the business.
So it's kind of like, just taking advantage of the opportunities when they open those doors, but also the networking. Speak about to like the professionalism that comes with that, because I think that we see we in the club and stuff and we want to be ourselves, but we don't want to be too much of ourselves because we don't want to like rub them the wrong way when we don't even have a foot in the door yet.
Yeah, I am more calculated than most people probably, and it's just because growing up black in Texas, I got to think 2, 3, 4 steps ahead in order to not end up in jail. Like, we're gonna be doing illegal things. I need to know, okay, I'm gonna do it this way, that way, this way, so then I'm good. And it's the same kind of mentality I have when I'm networking. Is I want to know who is running what location, and I want to know that before I'm talking to them, or get that information pretty quickly. And then when I'm around them, I'm gonna be chill, funny. I'm not gonna be belligerent, drunk. I'm gonna be somewhat myself, so you get like a sprinkle of it. But the first 2, 3, 4 times I'm meeting you, you're not gonna know Chris. Like, you're gonna know a chill dude that is obviously professional, respectful, and you might trust in your green room. Then when we boys and you know my humor and you already respect me, then I can be a little bit more myself, where we're laughing at more outlandish things, and it's like we're friends at that point. But like Drake said, no friends in this industry. At the beginning, man, we're not gonna be buddy with everybody. It's just not. It's not logical.
Yeah, yeah. Being at the Improv and working that stage as opposed to like a bar show or anything like that, what was like the learning curve now that you're always in there in that type of atmosphere in that stage?
Oh, okay. So that it's gonna sound ridiculous to me because it was ridiculous when someone told me it, but they're the same. Both of them don't matter. Both of them matter, but like not really. It's people. If there's 2 people, if there's 300 people, unfortunately for our skill set, we have to act like they're both not important. But not, I say that because some people, they were like, it's not important, and they just like they get belligerent up there and, and they start throwing stuff. I mean, it's not. It's you're not going to be famous
Yeah.
tomorrow off of this one performance. So just treat it like a normal bar show. You have to be a little bit more patient with the laughs because they take longer. So your timing is slower. But I used to make those moments in the big theaters, in the big clubs. I made them so big, bro. Like it was the most important show. Once I get this, it's all like popping after that. And that's not the case. I'd end up nervous. I'd end up not as sharp. And so the moment I treated every show like two people in the audience, and I pick my two people I'm gonna talk to, it got that much easier. It's like, all right, I'm rocking with you, you my audience, and you my audience. All these other people just happen to be here.
So you literally just talking to two people in the audience every time you're up there.
Just the ones I feel comfortable, like, okay, there's vibes. You can look
Yeah,
at someone and feel some vibes, right?
yeah.
Because if we have a good time, nothing else matters. So I
Mm,
find my people that I vibe with, that I have a good time with. It's like, yo, yeah, we're gonna, because you want your show to feel somewhat like a conversation, and
yeah.
it can only do that if you only talking to a few people. Otherwise, it turned
Mhm.
into this big TED talk or something, and it's not funny. And you trying to talk to everybody. It's like, I'm rocking with you. I'm rocking with you. Let's have a good time. We homeboys.
Yeah. No, I'm gonna take that advice for the next time. Who's the cat lover back there? I see the cat.
So we got two cats. They're both Siamese. Mankey is the OG. I think he's
Uh-huh.
right behind me. And then Zeus, who is the youngest, but he's like, his name's Zeus because he just think he run the house. So yeah, my wife grew up with Siamese, so it's like, you want to
Okay.
have something that reminds you of home.
Yeah, because my girlfriend likes cats, and I'm like, I gotta get used to it. I mean, that's explaining why we got cats. So,
I see that. I see that. Bro, it took a minute, but
yeah,
now
yeah,
way better than dogs, bro, because they do their own thing. Like I mean, they're roommates, but they don't say nothing. I mean, they're a little talkative every now and then when they
yeah,
need something. They're like, "Yo, you ain't fed me. You right?
yeah,
My bad."
yeah,
Oh, the bathrooms, your litter box dirty. Okay,
yeah,
that's my fault. I forgot about you. But
yeah,
like,
yeah.
that's it.
Yeah, yeah. I'm warming up to it. I'm warming up to it. It's not just the cats or dogs. I like animals, but like I never grew up living with one, so it's just a little weird to me. That's all.
I feel that because
Yeah.
they live there, bro. They
Yeah.
they in every space you in, bro. They run the house too.
Yeah. I feel weird like walking naked and there's a cat right here. I just like nah, like and cover up in my house where I'm paying bills. But all
That's
right,
funny.
so one thing you said, like one thing I've been having like struggle with is like I'm getting used to being like on in comedy clubs on their stage, but I step over the laugh so hard. And it's just like, I don't know if it's because I know I'm being timed
Mm-hmm.
or if it's just like um because like I know I don't really know what it is. Like, so like for if you only got a certain amount of time on stage, but you want to wait till you don't want to step on the laugh and you want the laugh to reach the back of the room or whatever, like how in the world do you do that? That's like one of my biggest struggles right now.
And what's dope about just people in general is we often know the answer. Like you was 100% spot on. It's because you only got so much time up there, and so for us young comics that only get much time, we act like we ain't got much time,
Yeah.
and then the booker's like they ain't been on this stage before, which is true. So it's like, how am I supposed to act like I've been here before when I
Yeah.
ain't?
Yeah. Yeah.
And the truth of it is, cut your material, because if you only have 5 minutes, do your 4 minute set so it can breathe. And then the
Mm,
booker's gonna be like, yo, he look comfortable. Has he done this before? Right. And it's because you're not forcing yourself to get all 5 minutes in, because you
mhm.
might not. And that happens all the time where they laugh at. That's actually the goal. Bro, I
Yeah.
couldn't even finish my set. They was laughing so hard. Like that's what you want, you know?
that that's why I have this podcast. That I've never heard that before in my life. That was yeah, because I have I've just booked my first like actual gig, not an open mic. I booked my first actual gig in a comedy club and I got 15 minutes, which I've done 15 minutes before, but like I'm like okay, I got to get 15. But then you try
Mhm.
to factor in those laughs and stuff like that. So you're just saying like do it a minute less than with your time that you have.
Yeah. And worst case scenario, if you got more than 15 and they not laughing, then you got plenty. So it's actually not, it's way easier to cut your set than to like try and do more time than you have. So
Yeah.
just sit in it, relax. And that came from me, bro. I I'm on stage for 7 minutes. I got 7 minutes and 30 seconds of material I gotta get out, so I'm
Yeah.
rapid fire because I want them to hear everything.
Yeah.
But it's
Yeah.
way better the bookers want you to just look chill up there like you've been there a million times.
Okay. Okay, cool. Now, when you do these clubs, right, and you are the host, some say that the host is as heavy as the headliner. How important or what kind of tidbits do you have for people that's like starting out hosting, or what have you learned about yourself being a comedian since you started hosting?
Yeah. Hosting for me, I think my goal has always been make sure the energy is right. Right? Whatever the headliner has, because headliners are all different. They got different energies, different styles, different skill levels, right? So I always try and make sure the energy is right for the room and the headliner will be happy.
Mhm.
Now, there are headliners that sometimes you think you better than, right? Like that just happens. And so if you have a good opening set, you'll be fine. You can do a little bit of crowd work if the headliner isn't like, hey, I want that. Like I want the crowd work, don't touch it, which might happen. But I had to learn this the hard way, and this was we got some talented hitters out here in San Francisco that you can lean on. And there's one guy named Chris Riggins, who Chris just won San Francisco's the International San Francisco Comedy Competition. And this is another thing, just to talk about this dude's greatness. I went to see Dave Chappelle at in Vegas, and out of nowhere in this man's 1 hour set, he brings up Chris Riggins out of nowhere, bro. And so to hear like a legend talk about someone personally blew my mind.
Mhm.
And so one day I was hosting for Chris, and his number one rule for me was like, when you up there and you hosting, it ain't even about the material. It's just about keeping the vibe with the audience. You don't even do material sometimes. Go off the script a little bit because you want it to be comfortable. You want it to be relaxed. Whereas if you just go into material, it's not going to feel like a conversation with the audience. And then that's going to mess up the feature. And then that's going to mess up the headliner. So have, 75% material and then give yourself some room to just shoot the shit with the audience a little bit, to where it's still crafted. You'll do really well.
Yeah, yeah. So what's after hosting? Like, is that because I don't know like the steps. So is it hosting then feature then like headlining? Like what's the steps?
Yeah, I wish our industry had a clearer path to like what you have to do, right? But it's just not. I built my own steps of like goals I have, and I found this. I don't know. It's the internet just got a bunch of resources that they're not even classified. This website looked old, like someone ain't even updating it. But it had this thing where you could to put in your set, like you can upload your set and then click on every time you get a laugh or a reaction, and it will give you back your laughs per minute. And
Mm,
so after watching headliners, I'm noticing they get like their laughs per minute is crazy. Like 8 to 10 to 12 laughs per minute, which is just insane. So my next step is I feel like my opening host set is a good 6 to 8 laughs per minute. I want to bump that up. Like if I'm gonna be a feature, I want to figure out how to get to 10 laughs per minute consistently. And
mhm.
then if I want to be a headliner, I want to see how I can get to 12 laughs per minute. And I'm nowhere near that because that is insane.
Yeah.
But my next steps, the way I look at it is I'm a host now. In order for me to be a feature at the same caliber, like I can do more time, but that doesn't mean the hits are going to be at the same level, if that makes
Mhm.
sense. So for me to be a feature, I want my last per minute to be stronger than my host last per minute. So that's kind of my next goal.
So people that don't know what last per minute is, can you break that down for them?
Yeah. So, comics are going to be on stage for a certain amount of time. If you break it down to the simplest form, they're going to be up there for at least 1 minute. In that 1 minute, you want no less than 3 laughs. 3 laughs per minute means you're early into the comedy career. You got people to laugh 3 times. If you watch a show like Kill Tony, typically Kill Tony it's a show where brand new comics get 1 minute to be on stage. You'll notice some of them get 0 laughs. At most, they get like 3 or 4. 3 to 4 laughs per minute is a good entry level to like, oh, he's funny. Then you get up to 4 to 6 and you're like, oh, this dude's working with something. But that's not a headliner. That's maybe not even a feature, although it could be. But after 6, once you get to 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, that's really hard to do in 1 minute. And then you watch someone like Dave Chappelle, they killing the laughs per minute. Like these people can get 15 laughs in 1 minute. It don't even make sense. Like people can't breathe. And so that's what I try and aspire to. And that's something that all comics should measure ourselves to, is laughs or reactions. Like some people like that.
So reactions count too.
Yeah. Depending on if you're doing it on purpose, right? Like if you're just getting alls the whole time and that's what you want, yeah, it works.
Yeah. Okay. So now you're a full-time comic. So after, let's say I went full-time tomorrow. Okay. Then it's like, okay, now what? Like, what does your schedule look like throughout the day?
Yeah. So bills are the most important thing, right? I got to know how much I have to make. So again, it's like I said before, making sure my calendar is full, right? So right now, because me and my wife are both Scorpios, so we spent all November traveling and vacation. So my November is not booked up, but that's because I got in trouble last year. So, so I learned. But number one thing, man, making sure that calendar is booked up. So again, reaching out to all the people that obviously reaching out to the clubs first. They get priority on your dates, and then keeping that filled up. Looking for contests and competitions, because I'm at that point that I need to be going to festivals. So I'm having to research all of those, apply to those, take care of those. But then the most profitable thing for me is producing shows. So looking for venues, finding venues, booking, scheduling everyone, and mastering marketing. If you can master marketing, going full time is so much easier because you can get paid off your shows to where you don't need to make as much when you're the actual comic. We don't get paid crazy amounts of money. But when you produce a show, if you can fill those seats, you got something.
So what got you into producing shows?
2 comics here in the Bay Area have legendary producing skills. So there's one guy out here named Stroy Moyd, and Stroy has maybe 10 to 12 shows going on a month. That might even be too low, to be honest, because this man he runs the city basically. And so he is full-time, easily probably bringing in $10,000 a month easily, because he's running so many shows. And it took 10 years. Like, this isn't overnight. But you see his success. Then there's another dude here named Austin Carr, who has about 4 or 5 shows. Talking to them, they were just like, do it. Don't even hesitate. Jump in, figure it out. And once you do, you'll want to grow it, because once you figure one out, you're like, I need to figure out another one. This people making this kind of money? What? Yeah. Okay. And so it's just from learning from the best.
So then how did you position yourself in a way to make money from producing shows? Because every time you don't always make your money back, or you might break even. So how did you get to the point that you start making your money back and get more money?
Yeah, great question. The first, you got to set your goal. So I'll say this because I think this is the clearest thing that people know, but we don't think about it. There's 2 ways to run a show, or 2 goals for running a show. One goal, which I don't knock, is you're running a show so you have more stage time. There is nothing wrong with doing that, but just know your goal isn't money. Your goal is stage time, and be happy because that's what you set out to do. Because I think a lot of comics, they're like, yo, I got to get a show up because they want more time, and they're not making money, and then they complain about not making money. That wasn't what you went into it for, So knowing the difference there, I got to be in it for the money because my wife says so. So, and I'm being completely honest. That's literally it, bro. So with that mindset, I I'm thinking about it from the beginning, right?
Hmm.
Like this location, will this location bring in audience members? Like, will audience members want to come here just to spend money? That's
Hmm.
the first thing because I'm thinking about money the whole time. Then it's like, okay, will this venue benefit from what I bring them? I think I know the best talent in the city. That's my expertise. I had never run a show before, but I'm like, look, I can make sure people will want to come because the shows will be fire. I can
Right.
guarantee the shows will be fire. So then I know it's a venue people want to come to. I know I'm going to bring talent. Now it's my job to network or not network, to negotiate a, that I'm going to make money. And so that's when you have to trust. I did a lot of research on other shows that on other producers. And it's like, all right, I'm going to ask this venue for this amount of money to run this show or for this amount of the door when we bring people in.
Hmm.
Once I have that established, the last piece, guaranteeing the comics are funny and the audience members show up. And so sell tickets, market, you can flyer, you can master social media. I think that's where my strength is. I've mastered online social media because I looked at the venue. I said, who would come to this spot? All right, this venue. So the venue that I have is a winery, which makes it easier. Women loves going out spending money at a winery.
Hmm.
So I'm going to build my ads to make sure women see these ads and women want to come to the show.
Hmm.
And that's what I did. And it fills up. But again, all of it was disciplined, targeted. The venue matches my audience I'm going after. The audience has money. I'm
Right.
not targeting college students, who don't have money, you know? So
Right.
again, just what's your original goal and how do you make sure that's followed through every step of the way?
Are you spending money marketing and like you don't
At this
gotta
point,
give? Okay, and how much are you spending and how are you marketing?
yeah. So I'm probably spending so the very first show, I put in $150 on marketing,
Hmm.
and I was nervous because I wasn't sure I'd get that money back. Right? Like, what if no one shows up? I was very nervous. My venue can seat like a good number is 100, but it could technically seat 200 if we really forced it. And I was like, we might only sell 20 tickets. You know, that's not
Hmm.
good. Um, but I put in $150 in it and it sold out. And I couldn't believe it. So that wasn't consistent because it's a new show. New shows are easier to market, but Facebook marketplace or not marketplace, Facebook ads, Instagram ads, it's all about knowing your audience. So I again identified I'm looking for females between these ages. They already have to like comedy. So I'm also saying only send the ad if they like Kevin Hart, if they like Robin Williams, if they like Andrew Jesselnick, you know, if they like Eddie Murphy. Like I'm going through all the comics that this age range might know,
Hmm.
and I'm attaching that to what Facebook should be looking for. And then because it's a winery, I also think they should like wine. Like I want them to see the ad and it's like they think this ad was for me. I
Hmm.
have to click on this. I have to go. So I hit them with comedy and I hit them with they have to like wine and pizza and whatever that venue has. And those people see the ad, it goes to them and they buy the ticket because it was designed for them. It wasn't just like, do you like comedy? We have a show. It was no, yo, Ty, I know you. This
Hmm.
is your show. You better show up. And that helps.
So, okay, so what about turfs? Like, say somebody had like a show somewhere that you didn't know could even have a show, and you'd be like, "Oh, he did his thing here." Do you go to that venue now, or do you try to stay? Because you don't want to rub somebody the wrong way. But I do see that sometimes it happens. People takes people's spot. Like,
Yeah, that's a real thing, and it's tough. It really depends on how big your city is, right? And if you're in a small city and you do your job better than someone else's, that's on them, right? Don't like it's small. Like, what could you do? You know what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah,
Now I'm in San Francisco. I'm in the Bay. If I'm in your turf, I did that on purpose, and you should be mad, right? But, but if you're in a small city, like just outwork somebody, they need to learn from you or team up, or they need to also be like, yo, this dude's on the come up. How do I work with them versus getting
yeah.
salty? But I'm in a big space, so there's some shows in my city. Like my show is in San Carlos, and a buddy of mine runs a show in San Carlos. But we also have different audiences, right? So like his show is a bar show, and the bar is a little bit more. It's like a dive bar. That's
Mm-hmm.
not the same people that go to wineries. So if they do get mad at me, I'm going to point out like, hold on, we not even hitting the same audience. We in the same city, but
Yeah.
we aiming at two totally different types of people, and that's real. Now, not everyone thinks about their audience, but that's what I would say.
Yeah. So how do you go how do you go to decide like who you're gonna book? Because I've produced shows before, and sometimes I've tried different ways. Like I'll book like 12 comedians, thinking like that's gonna sell out everything. Then I'll book like the big funny the most funniest comedians in the city, and thinking that's gonna sell it out. And then I like only like dwelled it down to like a smaller venue and like not as many comedians, just three, and then that's the one that sold out. So like how do you go about like which comedians you're gonna pick to make sure that it sells out, or is it just Bailey so in the marketing?
Yeah, selling out to me has little to do with the comics and more to do with your marketing. Now, or I guess the first show selling out has little to do with the comics, and that's all marketing. But the
Mm-hmm.
second show, when people come back, that's because you had good comics, right? So I would always go for the 3 comic lineup. It's a club style thing. You know, clubs, they're great, but they also have drink minimums, and they might not be nearby. So I try and take the club model to wherever I'm going. So all my
Mm-hmm.
shows are 3 comics. But well, actually 3 to 5. If the host is me, I'm booking 2 to 3 other comics, and then I want them to be funnier than me. If I'm the host, you got to be funnier than me. So that also sets like whatever bar you want. And then I also book a young comic as a co-producer so that they can help me run things like, hey, I need to do this, I need to do that. I'm juggling a lot. You have a tight 5, come on the show. It's going to be a sold out crowd. So you get that's experience, exposure. They get a dope ass clip from it. And they're
Mm-hmm.
also helping me. Sometimes I pay them, sometimes I don't, depending on the skill level of that comic. But so yeah, I run 3 features / headliners depending on how everyone's in a different place in their career, and stick to a 90-minute show. 90 minutes in and out. The least amount of comics, the better, because it's less for the audience to have to remember, but it's also long enough for them to build a relationship with each comic.
How do you gauge? I know you just talked about the young comic, but how do you gauge like how are you going to pay your comics? Because that's another thing. Some people be like, I mean, I'll do it if you pay me, and then some people be like, I'll just do it just because it's time. Like, how do you go about figuring out how to pay comics?
I start with the most talented comic on the list. So like for this show, I go to the headliner. I'd be like, yo, what's your rates? If the rates are more than I can afford, then I go to my maximum rate that I'm willing to pay someone. But I start with them. Some headliners, super reasonable. And then you're like, oh, okay, I can rock with that, which then also means I can get a better feature. Maybe
Mhm.
this feature I get is going to like I can pay them a little more because the headliner took less than I expected. Or I can go adding like I can pay that co-producer that I was talking about, so I can get a few people in because the headliner is not as expensive as I anticipated.
Mhm.
So I really start with what's my max I can pay a headliner, and do I think they're deserving of the max? Which typically I'm trying to book someone that I do, but start there. Whatever their offer is, if it's under, I accept it. Now I don't. This is another skill too. Don't say that's it. Like, don't do that. Always respond no matter what they say. If you're saying yes, you respond with, I think I can make that work. I think I can get you that. Then they're thinking that you're stretching yourself to take care of them. And that makes them feel good, and it makes you not bust up your budget.
Yeah, yeah, no, that's a good tip. That's a very good tip. I usually pay people after I see them perform. I'll be like, all right, well, that was worth some money.
Yeah.
That's when I didn't have no money yet. But producing shows is very stressful, especially when you got to go up there and do your own set. How do you balance the two?
I no longer do a set. I am shooting the shit because one, it's too much to think about. I might have some, like, I treat it somewhat like an open mic for myself as well. Like, I have some thoughts that have been percolating. I'm just going to go with those. I'm going to mess with the crowd a little bit, and I'm off and on. I give myself 5 to 8 minutes, but most of the time I'm only up there for 5 because I don't have anything other than to set the mood. And so I now am running everything else. So I'm not doing it for stage time again. So the original goal of the show for me is money. So I'm up there 5 minutes and then I'm back to running the show.
Okay. All right, cool. So now you're hitting stages and everything like that. I would say probably when we were growing up, we were around the same age, like, we didn't think to share our jokes. But now sharing them online, that's what everybody does, and that's how I connected with you. How did you get to that comfortability to share your jokes online? And not only that, how do you pick and choose what jokes you're gonna put on there?
Yes, that has been a painful journey. So the original thought process was I'm putting fire. I'm just gonna drop fire on there, and that's it. And two things happen. One, my fire's out there. So then someone that see my fire and they see me, they're like, "Oh, the best stuff is online." Didn't like that. Second, the fire does not pop off like you want it to. It simmers. You'd be like, "Oh, okay, I'm still getting some likes on that. All right," but it doesn't blow up. So what I started doing was I'm releasing the earliest version of the joke. Like, this is where it started. This is what I thought was funny, and it got a little interaction. But the next time you see the same joke, it's already way better than you ever saw it online. And so it also helps me just post because I'm just posting some bullshit, but technically, because it's like, I had this idea, I took it to the stage. This is how it first came out. I'm posting that because it's not my baby. I don't care too much. And it still gets engagement. I did a little Kanye one, and now that the Kanye stuff is happening, it just keeps getting likes. It's like, yo, that was me bullshitting on the topic versus I've been working on this joke for 6 months. It's at its peak and I release it. And now I can't even enjoy telling it on stage because someone's like, "Oh, I heard that. I've heard this already."
Yeah. I've seen you been opening up for some big people. Who is like one person that you open up for? You was like, man, and then like, what is that experience like when you get to see them and realize that they're just as human as you are?
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. I haven't had anyone big enough that they weren't human before. Like if I open for Dave Chappelle or something like that, I don't know what that's gonna be like, because I've talked to the peers that have opened for him, and they just like it was crazy, and then it was like, oh, he's just normal. But I think for me, I'm lucky enough that being in the Bay Area, man, some of these guys I've opened up for that are just local here, they are just masters of the craft. They've been doing it so long, and so Chris Riggins is still on the top of my list just because he's just there, man. He's like he's a master of the craft for sure. He's friends with all the people that I hope to one day be friends with. I remember one day we were driving to a show and he was like, "Oh, Draymond Green just texted me." I'm like, "Say what?" Like, hold on, let me see that. Like, it's just, so it's cool, but at the same time, they're in our industry. Once you start doing it, everyone's peers. So he's someone that just helps me out. Like, he'll give me feedback. Like, he just can talk to me. And I think it's that relationship that's way cooler than anything. And honestly, when you're hosting or opening for someone, your goal is to be funny, professional, but try and build that relationship. Like, do it slow, smooth. You'll be with them all weekend. Like, nurture it. Don't do nothing too wild. And then hopefully next time, hit them up, share the socials, stuff like that.
Yeah, that's good advice. Chris, I'm curious, who's on your Mount Comedy? Who's on your Mount Rushmore of comedy, man?
That's a good question. I think I said that to you this whole interview. Which is dope, because you're doing a great job. Let me make sure this computer's plugged in, and then I'll answer that. Hold on one second.
Okay. Always gotta make sure things are straight.
My bad. I gave you some work to do on the editing.
No, you fine.
let's see.
Oh no, I'm gonna
Mount
leave it in there. It's a beautiful house. I like how your wife decorates. That's nice.
Appreciate it, appreciate it. And she's the one that unplugged the computer, so yeah, give her all the shout outs. So my Mount Rushmore is not based on stand-up necessarily, just I think the impact that they've had on me.
Mhm.
How much is Rushmore? Is that 4 people, 5
Yeah,
people? What is
4. You got 4. You
4?
got 4.
Yeah. I had to make sure. Okay, so Dave Chappelle has to be on there. That's my George Washington. For me, these others, I can't ever aspire like Dave, not career wise, but just like trying to come at painful topics. I try and do like him, but these other two I can't even touch. So Jamie Foxx, I ain't got no skill set like this man.
Can we pause? Can we pause? Can we pause? Okay.
Yeah.
First of all, that's a good one. I just want him to just do one comedy special before you get up out of it. Just one. That's it.
Yeah. I feel that. Like, and that's almost what makes him so great. It's like he don't even have like we need him to come back. You know what I mean? Like
he's like Lauryn Hill.
yeah, exactly. Like, come, give us more. What are you doing? What are you doing? And so he's on there just because one, he's from Texas, and he's always. I've just grown up laughing at him.
Yeah.
And I didn't know what stand-up was because the stand-up comics that I revere, they were doing other things by then. So it's like Dave is the only one that I know that still does stand-up that's on my list. In a way. So Jamie's on there. This next one, these next ones are gonna be tough. Because I'm trying to decide if they should be on there because they're not doing stand-up anymore. Yeah, I'm still gonna put them on there, but it's probably not fair, and they don't deserve it to be on the Mount Rushmore, but they're just so impactful to me. Is Chris Tucker. Chris Tucker was my favorite actor growing up. I didn't know he started in stand-up until my parents let me watch like Def Jam and stuff like that. And his just character, his like you hear him, you know it's him. It just stands out. Yeah. And I have to give some credit to him being where my source of laughter comes from. Like I just grew up watching Chris Tucker and everything he did, and that's what I thought comedy was. I didn't know stand-up. I just knew being funny. So he's on that list. Then yeah, my list is trash. I'm just gonna put that from here on out. It's just Chris Beasley. The next dude is Andrew Jeselnik, who is a white guy with just precision, and I like him because his misdirects, he wrote them intentionally. Like he doesn't riff on stage, so there's no just being in the moment and funny. He is just tactical. And I think we all need some of that. So I watch him and study him for that precision, which, you know, he's pretty obscure. I feel like casuals don't know who he is, but he's just tactical. So that's 3. And I felt like I had to put a white person up there.
That was 4.
That was 4?
Yeah. You had Dave, you had the last dude you said, Jamie, and you had
you're right.
Chris.
Dang. Yeah. There's a lot of people should have been on there.
Chris, man, what's like some words of encouragement or motivation that you could give to a comedian that's listening to this right now?
Just keep putting in the work, because where you are right now, it don't matter. It's if you feel like you're not there, it's today, because tomorrow, if you just keep grinding, you're gonna kill it. So don't get caught up in this moment, because our careers are just like our jokes. They will get better over time. Like you just keep working them. I have some closers that I remember how they started, bro. They are horrible, right? So just think of the same thing with your career, but take care of it. And whatever your goals are, just stick with it. Keep going.
Chris, man, tell people why they should listen to Comedians in Bed.
Bro, first off, if you want bona fide, honest comics giving you real facts, you heard these questions, bro. What you talking about? You need to listen to Comedians in Bed. I'm a fan. I'm gonna be rocking with it from now on for sure. And if you a comic, like if you're not a comic, this is just a fun conversation to learn. But if you're a comic, this is where you get in the hard-earned facts. Come here, listen to Ty break it down with comedians in bed.
Chris, man, I appreciate that. Where can people find you at, man?
I am at just Chris Beasley on Instagram and really all social medias at just Chris Beasley. If you want some OG like content, my original moniker was Brother Man Chris. I know. Look, I grew up watching Martin. He was gonna be on my Mount Rushmore too, but I only had so much space. Brother Man from the 5th floor, my favorite person on the planet. So yeah, there's some OG stuff out there from Brother Man Chris. That's also my PSN if you want a game anytime soon.
Well, Brother Man Chris, we appreciate you so much. Hey man, be sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel at Ty Erskine. Be sure to subscribe to Comedians in Bed wherever you listen to podcasts. I'd like to thank Chris Beasley for joining us with us today. Day after his birthday, man. Happy birthday. Wish him happy birthday. Hit him up on everything social, man. Once again, this be another great episode of Comedians in Bed. Chris, we appreciate you so much. We'll see you guys next week.